So welcome back everybody, my name is Paul, and a lot of people have seen other of my videos. I've been making a series about esoteric psychology, esoteric Christianity, and basically esoteric teachings in general. And it's very, very complex, and I'm not an authority on anything. I just have learned a lot from a lot of different people and my own experiences, and I'm trying to pass on information that I have learned and see how it feels to people and see if they can understand and get a little different view on some things perhaps that might help them in their life. And today I'm going to talk a little more about the confusion in Christianity and the confusion in religion. I was born in India. My parents were missionaries. My grandfather and my father were ministers, Protestant, and I had other relatives who were there, and it was very much in that atmosphere of a Christian school and so on. But as I got a little older, I got interested in tapping into some of my roots since I grew up in India, and I started thinking about a lot of experience I had there, and I was introduced to the subject of meditation when I was around 20 years old, and that combined with my interest in metaphysics and the scientific bent and curiosity, I've just studied a lot of different books. And many people don't have the time or interest in reading all those kind of books and studying this, so I try to capsulize it a little bit and help people understand, because like all religions, there's so many religions in the world, there's so many conflicts between religions, and even within Christianity there's just many, many, many different views and practices within Christianity, and a lot of that comes from, well, we don't understand, we weren't there, and our culture is very different. I mean, modern Christianity in the Western world is completely different with the TV and everything than the way it was started back, in the early days, So there's a lot of different mutations, you might say, of religion, and because of cultural differences and geographical differences in time and so on, a whole lot of problems happen in religion because we can't agree on some really basic things. We're all human beings, we can agree on that. We're all here, we have a life, we know it's not going to last forever, at least not in this body. So along comes, around 2,000 years ago, we have the Christian story, and back in that time, that was a long, long time ago from our point of view perhaps, but from, say, the Hindu tradition, well, their tradition goes back 10, 12, they don't even know how far it goes back. It's very, very ancient. So if you go to a Hindu and start saying, well, we had a divine incarnation, and he taught us liberation, and he showed us the divine light, and he taught us about the holy name of God, and all that, then they're going to say, oh, wow, that's great, fantastic, he's one of the avatars. He would have been very much accepted over in India. But what happened was this particular avatar, chose to be born in the Middle East, and we have a lot of different cultural differences on the overlay, basically the sort of like tincture, you might say. You can't help but agree that the religion of Jesus has gotten incredibly distorted over the centuries. It's just gotten really, really mangled, and we don't even know, we don't really have very good records of even his physical life, So I wanted to help people by giving them some understanding that the idea of an incarnation, or of a God-man, or a divine being, or a superconscious being, is not unusual at all in the Hindu tradition. And the whole idea, there's some words, for example, word. In the Hindu tradition, there's something called the Shabd Brahm, the sacred sound of God, the Om, the infinite vibration that from which comes everything. These are the same concepts in Christianity. A lot of people don't understand that. Same way with the Atma, the soul. We're trying to get free. We're bound in this world. We're stuck here, and we're in sort of a hell of our human creation. We're trying to get liberated from this body because we our activities, what people call sins, but our attachments and our desires and so on entangle us in different things, and we end up having confusion and anger and problems in our lives. So the whole idea that a great teacher comes and teaches some kind of techniques, some kind of meditation or something to help people finally just get into a peaceful situation, because if people are peaceful within, then they're going to be peaceful to their neighbors. You see, so the great teachings are all very similar. Now I'll go through a few of these here. The single eye, for example, a lot of people know about this. There's the third eye, the pineal gland, the visions within that the saints had, the apostles had. There are yogis in India even right now, people even in, not just in India, but there are people who have inner awakening and they can experience things, and that's just one part of awakening as a human being. So a lot of the different things here are very, very similar, because we might have a different word. We might call it knowledge here, you call it gnosis, or you might call it jhana, or you might call it prayer. You have meditation, or you have like celestial music, and then you have the dance of God, the song of God. You have all these different things that are related and very similar. But a lot of people who practice, say, Christianity, they grew up and they maybe never, ever know any of these things about their own religion and the tradition, because Christianity just didn't hatch out of nowhere. There's a whole lot going on, not just in the Middle East, but in all that area, because where he was apparently born in Bethlehem and so on. There's a huge country of Persia, and then it went on and way out into Afghanistan, what's now Afghanistan, and what's now Iran. I mean, there's a long tradition of basically the Hindu religion had spread that far, all the way toward the east, toward the west rather, and some of their concepts made it all the way into the area of the what's now Europe and the Celts and so on. That's another subject here, but I want to help people understand that Christianity is not far away from Hinduism in the basic concept, which is the human life is precious. We don't know how long we're going to live here. We want to wake up. We want to unclutch. We want to repent. We want to let go. We want to go within. We want to pray. We want to have devotion. We want to bring into our life greater understanding of who we are as human beings, because we have a short life. If we had thousands of years to just keep exploring human nature, then fine, but even then, wouldn't you want to do it a little earlier so you can enjoy the rest of your life? See, so the whole idea of these great avatars is to make it all simple. Say, look, you got to step from the outside to the inside, and you just got to kind of let go, unclutch, repent, whatever, give up, let go of the past, and just be in a state of beingness. Because what is the goal here? Because as a human being, we're trying to discover who we are right now while we're alive. Not what we're going to be, what kind of body we're going to have in the afterlife, or where we're going to go, what planet it's going to be on. But this is the life we have. What about it? And who are we? And if we understand who we are while we're here, while we're alive, then whatever happens later, it'll be a lot clearer if we understand this existence. So a lot of confusion and wars have been fought about just words, about concepts. It's very, very sad. Now see, Christianity got into Europe and so on, and then it got taken over by the Roman Empire in a lot of ways. So that was a whole disaster. But the Eastern tradition is experiential. They're not about a theory. They're not about a political system. You never find, like the Hindus and the real devout Hindus and the devout Buddhists, they're not going to start a war. They're not interested in political power. In fact, the whole idea, just exactly what Jesus said. See, Jesus told people to say, forget about the empire building, just be. And the Romans said, oh, no, we want the empire thing. Like, hey, we're going to have an empire. Don't you worry about it, but it's going to be, we're going to make it. See, so again, these great teachers say, forget the empire building. What are we doing here? We're not here to build an empire. We're here to understand our own existence, how short it is, and because it's time sensitive, the teachers say, okay, let's at least, the very first thing is, okay, at least understand this body's like a boat, okay? Understand that you have a boat and you have oars, or effort, so you can learn how to use this boat to cross the ocean, and then, if you need any help, then they, okay, there's continuous help perhaps if you need it. But the whole idea is the body's a temple. This is not a unique concept. It wasn't just a concept. It was a concept in Egypt. It was a concept in Hindu for thousands of years. The body's a sacred temple where dwells the soul, the Atma. God dwells within us. What can you say about God? If God's truly infinite, what are we going to do? Just as soon as your mouth opens, you go, where do you start? Because there's one poem written by a great sage. He said, if all the trees were pens and all the seas were ink, then I could still never describe the infinite. This is pointless. So people try to argue about what God looks like. Now, a lot of common denominators in different religions, sound and water. Sound is being used, and chanting and singing and humming, and water's used because water has, again, nowadays scientifically we know that water has sort of memory. It has it has sort of a life to it. It's something, it's so. I encourage people to start looking into the roots of Christianity, because in my view, understanding what Jesus was involves understanding who we are, and what we don't get the real teaching from the Bible. I mean, we just get a lot of words, but the whole idea is to have an experience, to have a knowledge. We're not just supposed to have a belief. You see, something really important, it's important to know it. And this is what knowledge is. This is why the great teachers say. Now, there's a lot of similarities again. You have, like, in the Christian tradition, you might have someone like a saint, or in the Hindu tradition, you might have a yogi or Mahatma. But this word here, samadhi, that's a concept that's not very familiar to Christians. And yet, the deepest peace, the peace of so-called the peace that passes understanding, and the place inside of joy and grace that, what are you going to say about it? Because the whole idea is, if we're liberated, if we get the clarity in our life, that's a liberation. If we get satisfied and feel fulfilled and feel a lot of love, then we don't become so dependent on the outside, become liberated, truly liberated. We just unclutch and realize that, faith and devotion, things come to us. It's not a new concept, this devotion and faith. Why do people pray? Because they get results. Ultimately, a Hindu tradition, the traditions of the Hindu have been around for thousands of years because it's a very, very lasting, it's a science, it really happens. There's countless millions of people who have at least built a bridge between their awareness and their soul, so that when they pass through this life and when they pass out of their body, they at least have already had that one feeling, a connection of knowingness of, I'm not this body, so that when the bird climbs up the top of the tree, it's out of branches, but it just flies away. It can do that. You see, that's the whole idea in the teachings of the Buddhists. Tibet, they had a Tibetan book of life and death, or the Tibetan Book of the Dead. It was about how to die and how to take your consciousness all the way through, and how to counsel somebody who's near death, and how to hum to them, and how to sing to them, and how to help them so they see that inner light, so that when they pass, they pass freely. So all of these concepts, the Egyptians had a book about teaching people how to pass out. They called the ka, the soul that leaves the body, the spirit. Christians might call it a spirit, our soul, our atma, our breath of life, our accumulated prana, you might say, or whatever. There's a lot of very, very interesting books. I'll try to recommend them in comments or in the description. People can read books about, there's one called The Missing 18 Years of Jesus, The Lost Years of Jesus the Christ, or The Aquarian Gospel of Jesus. There's, again, the context which modern people understand about the teachings of Jesus. A lot of people, they get the Revised Standard Version or the Gideon version in the hotel, or they pick up the King James Version and off they go to church, and maybe if you read a few other books along the way, but basically that's it. They don't. If that's all that religion has become, you're missing a tremendous amount of the experiential side, the mystical side, the knowing side of inner awareness that allows ourselves to expand. And these things are not taught. I mean, in the early days of the Christian church, probably Jesus taught to people, initiated people. Again, there's that word, initiate, they baptize or whatever. You change, you become like aware of something more now, and because you're aware that you're more than the body, and you become aware of your the light in your soul. You taste the living waters within, or you hear the celestial music within. You start having the experience, and from that point on, okay, now I have crossed that first bridge, and having peace, the deep peace that comes from the meditation, from the samadhi. In that place, you rest in a deep place, so deep that you just forget about your individuality, because there's nothing to defend there. There's no ego to... It's just a sacred space we all have within. And this is what the great teachers actually reveal. They say, here's the techniques. It's actually so simple that the teachers come up with it, like, I don't know how they can make it any more simple. I mean, I have a particular teacher that I learned some 4 techniques from, extremely simple techniques that I've been practicing for 45 years. But it just gets more profound and deeper the more I put the effort into it. So I want to encourage people who might be Christian and listening to this, say, look, okay, maybe I should take a broader view of Christianity, because Jesus was trying to teach people a lot more than people have learned from just the little book. I mean, there's cosmic things, there's deep inner things, there's understanding about our own existence, the answers that we get from deep within through meditation. Meditation is not thinking about nice thoughts and, oh yeah, I'm going to do this today, or start imagining the beach. Or real meditation is a place where things just stop. It just, but it's not resting. Like, imagine being in an air mattress on top of a water, and you're just floating along. There's nothing. It's easy. You just feel your body. You just feel your body moving, floating in the ocean. The same way, in a deep inner place, we have our being is a collection of energies. Maybe if you take an exercise now and then and try to do this little exercise with me on your own, just feel your beingness as not just your thoughts, and not just your smells, and not just everything, all the senses, all the body, all the energy around you, all what you're aware of, your memories, all that, you're integrated. That's all you. You are an assembly, you might say, or just a mix of energies, and then you put it all together, and that's your one being. And be that being who is a collection, who's a summation of all that other feelingness. We feel ourselves, might say, like a sponge in the ocean. The water is permeating us, but we're still buoyant. So meditation, just getting to a stage of meditation, is just letting go, this unclutching. That's a really nice word. Because that's all it is. We have a tendency in our mind, our senses. It's just a natural tendency. We have to live and do things. And you can grasp something, just let it go. Same way with our ego and our identity. A lot of times, we've all been defensive, trying to defend something that in an really deep place, there's nothing to defend. There's just beingness. And it can't be destroyed. It's just there, awareness. So I'm going to make a lot more videos about this subject because it's dear to my heart. I see a lot of conflict in the world and even in families about religions because they have different viewpoints and different concepts. But if you look at the simplicity of it, what are we trying to do in this life? We have a few short time here, and we can feel our existence in the context of something vast and infinite. That's why do we have to put labels on it? Why does God have to have a name? And God is not a Christian, And in terms of the word Jesus, the letter J wasn't even invented. It was more like a Yeshua, or the Hindus call it Ishwara, basically. So what we're trying to do in this life, we're all the same. Whatever religion we're here, we all got the same body. We're trying to do the same thing. We're trying to have a growth of our consciousness in a feeling of value. We feel this life is important because we realize how beautiful it can be, how beautiful an experience we can have being in this life. So therefore it's very important. And then we start, well, it's like someone gives you the keys to an incredible, fantastic car. And you go, whoa, I'm going to take care of this car. Let's try all the different features here, This body, this existence that we have is just incredible. I mean, there's so many examples of fantastic artists and musicians and geniuses of all kinds that do amazing things with this human body. What the masters and the great teachers say, like in the tradition of the Hindu, a guru is someone like they take a piece of steel and make it into a magnet. The guru, the teacher, is the magnet, and then he just makes another magnet. You see, a teacher is supposed to make the students able to do everything and have the same experience and the same kind of feeling. That's the whole point. What they know, they're trying to teach it so that we can experience exactly the same thing instead of being like peons and down, in the dust somewhere here, and God's way up there, and oh my God, like there's supposed to be a oneness developing through meditation and through spiritual practice, not just like isolation and I'm over here and those people over there, and they might not be in heaven, they might be in hell, and I don't know, I don't know what's going to happen to them when they die. So the thing is that I try to have a little bit of humor.